All right, man, peace. You know, brothers, the mainstream liberal sports media, they do a very good job of creating narratives around various players. And depending on who they choose to sponsor and co-sign, that's going to determine what type of narrative they concoct around him. Dwight Howard happens to be one of the players that the NBA liberal sports media does not like for whatever reason. I believe the genesis of their distaste for Dwight starts back in around 2010 or 2011 when he got into that beef with his coach, Stan Van Gundy. And also his indecisiveness in being able to discern whether or not he actually wanted to leave the Orlando Magic. He seemed to be going through a Shaquille O'Neal period in his life where he thought that he was the big fish in a small pond. And I think that that has hurt his legacy because Dwight Howard was trending towards being considered one of the greatest big men of all time. And as I've stated in other videos, he will be a Hall of Famer, whether people like it, understand it, believe it or not. The brother is an 8-time All-Star. He's a 3 or 4-time Defensive Player of the Year. I believe 3-time Defensive Player of the Year. He also made 8 all-defensive teams. He will be going to the Hall of Fame. But once again, his indecisiveness on whether or not he wanted to leave the Orlando Magic franchise, which was predicated in his incessant need to be the good guy, to depict himself as the affable, gregarious, happy-go-lucky Magic Negro. That ended up biting him in the backside because many of the members of the mainstream liberal sports media started to look at him as fake. And that is why I tell brothers on this channel incessantly, do not worry about being the nice guy or the good guy. It's more important to do good things than to appear to be good to the average person, to the public, to commoners, because those people will turn on you anyway, for whatever reason they choose. Had Dwight Howard been more decisive in what he wanted to do with his career during that time period, I believe it was around 2011 or 2012, somewhere around there, he certainly would have been considered more viable as a mainstream superstar in the NBA to this day than he is right now. As of right now, he's considered a pariah. And then on top of it all, he ended up being traded to the LA Lakers to be paired with Kobe Bean Bryant, who was once again on a quest to try to match Michael Jordan in championships. And Kobe ended up turning his vitriol on Dwight because what Kobe realized is that Dwight Howard is not Shaquille O'Neal. And because they were no longer running the triangle offense, he was not going to have a Svengali like a Phil Jackson able to guide the team and be the brain behind the team, which is what Kobe Bryant needed. When Kobe did not have a Phil Jackson and a great big man in that triangle offense, what he was a great individual player who struggled to include his teammates because he became overly competitive and always wanted to do everything himself. That is why he and Dwight started to clash, because their personality types were nowhere near compatible. On top of that, as we all know, Dwight Howard was hampered by injuries, which many of the LA Laker fans refused to acknowledge, unfortunately for Dwight. So that was a very bad situation. And then on top of that, the NBA had nullified the Chris Paul trade to LA, which if you're Dwight Howard looking back, you should have been very happy about that. Because had the LA Lakers had Chris Paul and Kobe on that team in the backcourt, they would have double teamed Dwight and made his life a living absolute hell. But that situation was very bad from the get-go. Anyone could have seen that going downhill very quickly because, as we all know, Kobe Bryant is a narcissist. He's also a borderline sociopath. Well, Dwight Howard decided that he was going to sit down with the panel of this show on ESPN, and he ended up getting into a very entertaining back and forth with Kobe Bryant's #1 groupie, that being Miss Carrie Champion. For those of us who are familiar with who Carrie Champion is, she's the so-called black woman in her mid-40s on ESPN who's overly infatuated with appearing as if she's 25 years old and trying to take a bunch of thirst trap photographs for Instagram so that she can have a lot of these simp dudes thirsting after her. Anyone who pays attention understands that she is a so-called liberal black female. She likes to get on TV and talk blackety black, but off camera, she prefers so-called white men, which is her business, that's her prerogative. But once again, when it comes to the liberal black woman and also the liberal black man, they like to talk about so-called black issues, but normally they have ulterior motives, that ulterior motive normally being that they want attention. She tried to go back and forth with Floyd Mayweather about the allegations concerning his domestic violence. Floyd handled that incident extremely well. If I were him, the first thing that I would have brought up had she tried to question me in the same manner. was the slave master fantasy that was put forth by Artie Lang, who was a former associate of Howard Stern. Artie Lang stated that he had a slave master fantasy with Kerry Champion. And of course, Kerry Champion did nothing to refute that. She did nothing to castigate Mr. Artie Lang. She did not come on television and say, black women, we need to stop allowing ourselves to be objectified by Caucasian men who want to use us as quote-unquote bed wenches, as the pro-black dudes like to say. She didn't mention that at all. But she claimed that Floyd Mayweather should get on TV and apologize to his female fans for his domestic violence allegations. I thought that Floyd Mayweather handled the issue very well. But let's get back to Dwight Howard right here. They're going to get into a very entertaining back and forth, and a lot of truth is going to be brought out by both Dwight Howard and Kerry Champion, particularly about herself. So, of course, they're going to talk about it, and I'm going to chime in.
Here's my question for you specifically. You play for the Lakers. You know what they're trying to do.
You know this crazy on me all the time, but it's okay.
Yeah, I was waiting for you to bring that
up. I'm here.
I'm glad
to talk about this off camera. That's what I'm talking about.
We'll talk about it off camera.
Smoke. We can
bring the smoke, but okay, we'll put a pin in this, or you want to go to our beef? Okay. What do you want to do?
Both. I'm here for both. I want to go at this beef.
Okay.
Okay, let me just sit back. I don't get any crossfire.
We'll get into that later. Okay. What was your concern, or what were your issues with me when you came on? You thought I wasn't fair to you?
No,
of course you were not fair to Dwight. You're a Kobe Bryant superfan, and as we all know, Kobe Bryant has a very powerful, a very potent cult of personality. His fans are by far the most emotional of any superstar athlete that I can think of. To me, a close second would be the Allen Iverson fan base. His fans are extremely emotional and irrational, but at least the Kobe Bryant fan base, they have a lot of championships that can bolster their argument, but they're extremely, extremely over the top. I don't think that Dwight Howard understood exactly what he was getting into when he was traded to the LA Lakers, because there was no way that they were ever going to allow Kobe Bryant to be considered as the reason why their team was not playing as well as they could have. Kobe was not concerned with passing the keys over to Dwight. He was making up all these bullshit excuses about how he was trying to teach Dwight Howard how to win. No, he was not trying to teach Dwight how to win. He wanted Dwight to be a background piece while he led the troops to the championship, which was never going to happen because there was no Phil Jackson there and there was no triangle offense there. And when Kobe did not have that, he was not able to lead his team deep into the playoffs. That's the bottom line of it. And of course, it may have been the second to last or third to last game of the season. They played Golden State, and that game was truly a proverbial handing over of the torch in regards to who's the most explosive scorer in the NBA, because Kobe Bryant and Steph Curry had a great duel. And of course, at the end of that game, Kobe Bryant tore his Achilles tendon. And that was basically all she wrote. But the Lakers were able to get into the playoffs by the skin of their teeth. But with all the talent that they had on that roster, there's no way that they should have been fighting to make the playoffs in the last week of the season. That to me spoke volumes about Kobe Bryant's inability to make his teammates better unless he had Phil Jackson as the head coach.
No, I was just like, dang, she's always going crazy on me and she don't even know me.
What did I do? What way?
I'm listening.
You just always say some crazy stuff. Dwight, they did this with the Lakers. I blame him. I'm like,
I didn't blame you, Dwight. I felt like when you got here, you didn't have you, in my personal opinion. I think you came in a situation where you didn't have everybody on your side and everybody didn't understand you. And
well, Kerry Champion, what exactly are you really saying? For you to assert that Dwight Howard was brought onto the LA Lakers and he did not have everyone on his side and that everyone did not understand him, why would you go out of your way to add insult to injury by joining in with the mob, with the cult, and casting aspersions on Dwight Howard, knowing that he was in a bad situation? That means that what you are is a fangirl. You're a groupie. It's okay.
And so...
And you didn't either.
And
Thank you, Dwight.
And I felt like you didn't appreciate it. I'm a hardcore fan.
I didn't appreciate.
I felt like you didn't understand what was going on here and how much they were trying to keep you and they loved you. But I didn't know some other stuff about...
Bullshit. You didn't care. All you were worried about was that Dwight Howard was supposed to come onto the LA Lakers franchise and be the new Shaq. And what Kobe Bryant showed Dwight Howard is how he would have treated Shaq had Shaq allowed it. That's why I say that relationship, that rapport between Shaq and Kobe was so dysfunctional. But because Shaq came into that dynamic, into that relationship, being the alpha initially, Kobe was unable to inflict the psychological damage on Shaq that he did on Dwight Howard. Dwight Howard came into the situation with the LA Lakers with Kobe asserting himself as the alpha, and Dwight basically being the whipping boy and the guy who took all the blame.
stuff behind the scenes, you know your boy had your back. I can name a ton of people who was at my head. Like, don't.
Now listen to what Kerry Champion just said. Let me rewind it back a little bit.
Don't go in. I felt like you didn't understand what was going on here and how much they were trying to keep you and they loved you. But I didn't know some other stuff behind the scenes. You know your boy had your back.
She says, you know your boy had your back. She was talking about Stephen A. Smith, who would always defend Dwight. This is back when Kerry Champion acted as the moderator on First Take. When she was on TV, supposedly moderating the debates between Stephen A. Smith and Skip Bayless, she was also casting aspersions at Dwight Howard, throwing rocks at him, and Stephen A. would go out of his way to defend Dwight because he had a far greater understanding of what was going on in that franchise than she did.
I can name a ton of people who was at my head. Like, don't go at Dwight. But I also know some people.
Well, you shouldn't have been too concerned about people trying to get at your head because all you would have had to do is wear a bigger wig. If they would have tried to swipe the axe at the top of your head, all they would have gotten was a big chunk of fake hair.
People who were going at your head that you specifically didn't address, but you was mad at me.
It's a lot of people I was upset with, but I was like, dang.
Her in particular.
Yeah, because I'm like, hey, she's a big Laker fan. And she's always talking about me.
What'd I say about you? You didn't remember.
I
was never bad. I was never bad.
I
wasn't bad. I was very critical, but I wasn't bad. I wasn't personal.
I
didn't talk about your dad. I didn't talk about nobody's family. I don't do that.
How's it not personal when you talk about him? I love when people always say that you ain't talking about your mom and dad. You talk about me. That's the most personal thing there is. I'm sorry.
You was talking about me as a player.
I was talking about you on a team that I cared about, and I thought that you would have been great, and I was disappointed. And
I think that Dwight Howard was great for that one season that he was with the Lakers. The brother averaged 18 points, 13 rebounds, coming off of back surgery. He actually came back from that surgery months in advance.
Came here.
As any fan would have been, Dwight,
right,
we would have been heavy.
But when I came here injured.
Thank
you.
I back surgery. Can you let them know I had back surgery?
Right.
I wasn't supposed to play for a whole season. Thank you.
Chill out, D.
I wasn't supposed to play for a whole.
Now, did you brothers hear that? There was a brother who I guess works for their production staff. He stated, "Get him, Dwight." And this chick, Kerry Champion, broke character, looked out into the audience or out into the staff and said, "Chill out, D, and I'm serious." In other words, if you keep trying to take this nigga's side, I'm going to have you fired. That's really what she was saying.
For a whole season, but I wanted to show the Laker fans how much I love this game. I came back in 4 months.
Okay. That's
and
fair.
I played.
She said, okay, that's fair. Like, she has no idea, no scope of what he's saying when he states that he came back early from back surgery to be a competitive professional athlete.
I played with a torn labrum.
I remember all that. That's very
But
fair.
they were saying that I couldn't play. I played with a torn labrum.
Who said you couldn't play? I never said you couldn't play.
No, not play like that.
No, Kerry Champion. What you and many of the LA Lakers superfans were saying is that Dwight Howard was dogging it, that he wasn't serious, and your arguments were being bolstered by that sociopath, Kobe Bean Bryant.
That I came out here and I wasn't trying to play my best. And I'm like, man, I gave this city 18 to 13.
I think you were in an unfortunate situation
that
they brought in a coach who had a particular system that didn't necessarily complement your sport, your skill set.
And if you guys remember, Dwight Howard was advocating for the Lakers to bring back Phil Jackson. But that was not going to happen because Jim Buss wanted to have overwhelming control of the franchise, and he knew that he would not be able to do that if they brought back Phil Jackson. So they brought in Mike D'Antoni because Kobe Bean had played under Mike D'Antoni on the Olympics. And as usual, and I always say this, I have no idea why people try to make this correlation between the style of play and how easy things are on the Olympic team and thinking that the same dynamic is going to translate over into the NBA. This happens over and over and over again. Kobe Bean played for Mike D'Antoni, and also they had the connection because supposedly Mike D'Antoni was Kobe's favorite player while he was growing up in Italy. They brought over Mike D'Antoni. Kobe thought that, wow, I'll be able to harken back to 2005, 2006, 2007 when I could jack up 28 shots a game and score 35, 40 points a game. And he realized when Mike D'Antoni came on board that he had no understanding of defense, and Kobe had enough game experience, enough NBA experience to know that we cannot win championships without defense. What Kobe wanted was a dynamic where he could average 33, 34 points a game, have the team play great defense, led by Dwight Howard, and then he can catch Michael Jordan and he can get the best of both worlds. And when he realized that none of it was going to work out, he got frustrated.
And also remember, Pau Gasol also wasn't very thrilled about the particular system that was being installed.
The chemistry was off, and you took a lot of hit for it.
No, I'm going to stop all the hit. I ain't going to let it be flood. First of all, you sound like an echo chamber. I've said everything exactly as you have said it, because from your perspective, you come back early from injury. You come back, promise the keys to a franchise. Kobe Bryant.
Ding.
Bryant and you had your issues. Kobe's supposed to hand you those keys. Kobe kept the keys. We know that because he didn't want you to do that. And then they let you be out there maligned, not reporting their coming back early from injury and dealing with another injury in that same year and still having a productive year. So
Thank you, Marcellus Wiley. Let me rewind this back.
Everything.
A lot of hit for it.
No, I'm going to stop all the hit. I ain't going to let it be flood. First of all, you sound like an echo chamber. I've said everything exactly as you have said it, because from your perspective, you come back early from injury. You come back, promise the keys to a franchise. Kobe Bryant and you had your issues. Kobe's supposed to hand you those keys. Kobe kept the keys. We know that because
Yes, he kept the keys, and then he made up some bullshit about how he was trying to teach Dwight Howard how to win. How the hell you trying to teach a dude how to win who got to the NBA Finals back in 2009? Your job was to give him the basketball, and at least you guys have a co-partnership where you can assist one another in trying to win a championship together. But because Kobe Bryant was so dead set on doing things his way and playing in the Kobe system, where he thought he could average 35 points a game, play decent defense on the other end of the court, and that Dwight Howard would hold things down in the paint and stop any type of penetration to the basket, that's what he thought was going to happen. He thought that Dwight Howard was going to bring his defensive player of the year intensity to the Lakers. He thought that Dwight Howard was going to bring that level of athleticism to the Lakers. And because he was coming off of a back surgery, he could not do it. Kobe Bryant got upset and frustrated with that. And then all of a sudden, he tried to make up this narrative about how Dwight wasn't intense and didn't want to play hard.
Because he didn't want you to do that. And then they let you be out there maligned, not reporting their coming back early from injury and dealing with another injury in that same year and still having a productive year. So everything fell on you as a scapegoat. You leave, and then everyone bashes you.
Everything didn't fall on you as a scapegoat.
Yes, it did.
Felt that way,
no, but even the last game when I got kicked out, I got 2 texts. And they showed the scene of me and Mitch Kupchak. And I just turned around.
What scene was that?
It was a scene where he slapped me on the butt and said, "Good job." And I didn't even know it was him. And when I turned around, I said, "Man, you got to talk to these refs because it was crazy tonight." And they took it as me going off on him. This was all over reports.
You said the media said that you were going off on Mitch Kupchak because he slapped your butt.
No, I was going off, and they thought I was cursing at him about the team. And then they flipped it and said Kobe came out right after I did that. So it was like this war between me and Kobe.
Did you have war with Kobe?
No, not at all. I thought that we just were in 2 different points of our career.
Which was?
Which was Kobe was on his way out, but he was frustrated. He could not accept the fact that he was on his way out. I give Kobe credit. That 2012-2013 season was one of his best seasons of his entire career. I guess those quote-unquote injections that he was getting in Germany finally kicked in and they were doing the trick. But whatever was going on between Kobe and Dwight, it was never going to work for Dwight because Dwight did not have a strong enough personality to stand up to Kobe. Kobe really wanted Dwight to fight him in practice. That's really what he wanted because that's the only way of leadership that Kobe knows. Kobe is dysfunctional when it comes to being a teammate. So he has to try to constantly break you down, and you have to show that you're either going to be a robot for him or you're going to be willing to fight him in practice. And Dwight was not willing to do either one.
He was on his way out, and I wanted to come here and be that guy for this team in this city. And I think that it was all just a miscommunication. And at this point, I'm like, and I told him after the situation, even Steve Nash, I didn't come to LA thinking about.
And remember, they brought in Steve Nash to be the point guard, and Kobe would not even allow Steve Nash to run the point.
Trying to take over. I came to LA.
I don't think they thought that.
Oh, yes, they did. You see that billboard, "Stay Dwight"?
I didn't feel like they thought you were going to come take over. I felt like they were like, you coming in and you're going to make things great, but I didn't feel like you were taking over and you were taking the keys from Kobe.
This is what I wanted.
Well, then, Kerry Champion, you're a damn fool because they did bring in Dwight to carry the franchise after Kobe retired. And Kobe understood that. He understood that overtly. But within his subconscious mind, he said to himself, this nigga's going to have to take the keys from me.
This is what I told them. I said I wanted to learn from him.
Okay.
I wanted to learn from Steve. I wanted to learn from Pal. I wanted to learn from all those guys who were there because one day they were going to have to retire.
Right.
And I'm thinking to myself, man, if I could learn how Kobe finished games and learn how Kobe his instincts on the court, then I could take that and lead the next generation of Laker players. That was my whole mindset. You know, I never want this.
So what went wrong?
Would you come back? Would you?
What also went wrong is that the Lakers would lose games and Kobe Bryant would come into the locker room and Dwight Howard would have a smile on his face or he'd be joking around. And Kobe did not like that.
Would you come back if you were free? Would you come back to be a Laker?
What went wrong?
What went wrong? I think it was just communication. I think everybody got, even myself, we got.
Dwight has already stated what went wrong. You keep asking him the same question because he's not answering in the way that you want him to answer. Because you think that you're Oprah Winfrey, you think that you're you think that you're some type of amateur psychotherapist or psychologist where you're going to get down to the nitty gritty. You think that you're smarter than Dwight Howard and you're not. All you are is a groupie.
We all got caught up into what was being said about all of us in the media. We weren't winning. And at that time, because of the situation that happened in Orlando, I was a scapegoat.
Okay.
So a lot of things seemed like they was coming my way.
Okay.
So for me at the time, I'm like, man, you know what? I'm going to sit back and just be quiet.
Okay.
Which I should, looking back at, I should have came out and said my piece. But
Right, but you know what? Had you done that, brother, they would have castigated you even more. They would have said, who is Dwight Howard to come onto an LA Lakers franchise that has won 15 or 16 championships and dare try to come against what Kobe Bryant is asserting about him? All they would have done is thrown you under the bus even more. You were just in a very bad situation.
I'm thinking, man, let me just...
But I do believe that, yes, you should have spoke your mind. You just would have had to have been ready for that level of castigation and just said to hell with it. But that's not in your personality. Once again, you want to be the nice guy.
Let me just go out here and play and show people that no matter what, I'm going to give this team... Like, when I played for the Lakers, you go look at highlights, I had the most fun.
Okay.
I was on the court every night, and guys are like, yo, you just had back surgery? You out here jumping and dunking like this? So I was looking forward to coming here every night and being a part of this atmosphere.
Can you stay put for a second? We'll take a break and we'll talk about this. Are we cool? Because I feel this tension.
No.
What tension you talking about? You must mean sexual tension. You know how these broads are in their mid-40s. They see a man, that's ready to go back and forth with them. They're ready to throw the panties in the air.
We went through a whole year. You can't get one segment and think it's cool. Bring smoke.
All right.
Y'all cool. Don't worry. Dwight will take you backstage and show you how he takes it to the bucket.
All right, well, welcome back to Sports Nation. You guys missed an exciting hour. If you didn't have that start out.
It felt like an hour to y'all, but it was an hour to one segment.
No, it felt like an hour to carry champion because all her bullshit was getting refuted.
Dwight Howard is joining us. For the very first time, in my opinion, you talked about what went down with the Lakers, and it's apropos because it's similar to what's happening now. It's a free agent.
What do you mean for the very first time he talked about what happened to the Lakers? Anybody who's impartial and was paying attention already knew what was going on with the Lakers. Kobe Bryant wanted to create a power struggle with Dwight Howard because he wanted Dwight Howard to take the team from him. Dwight thought that he was just going to go there and Kobe Bryant was going to hand him the keys and prep him to take over the franchise. It was not going to happen like that. That's not how Kobe Bryant's brain works. Once again, Kobe Bryant is competitive to a sociopathic level. If you're not built to deal with that, he's going to eat you alive. Bottom line.
Agency's frenzy, if you will. I ask you this as we close on this topic. Any regrets? Would you have done anything differently?
The only thing I would have done differently is really have my own voice. I think every person in the media came out and said what they felt that I was thinking, and they had their own opinion, which caused a lot of fans who don't really know me or how I am to have an opinion about me based off what somebody else is saying. So I would say that was my only regret, is not actually getting in front of the situation and saying, yo, this is how I feel, this is my opinion, this is what I'm saying, instead of having...
You would have had to have been ready for the backlash, though, brother, and I'm not sure if you built for that.
Having other people have their own opinion about me, which caused a lot of people to be like turned off by who I am as a player. So
that's fair.
I regret that part. But other than that, man, you know, I think I needed those different situations because it really taught me about myself and it's made me who I am today. So everything works out for itself, and I'm happy who I am today. Yeah. And I'm happy to come talk to you.
I apologize.
Dwight, get the digits. Maybe she could be your 10th baby mama. Who the hell knows?
I don't apologize, but I do believe that you're accurate in saying.
Bro, I said I don't apologize.
that there was a lot of assumptions about who you are because you didn't speak. And
Correct.
because you also apparently had a perceived beef with Kobe.
Correct.
And so, of course, obviously the fans.
And that's the reason why you were upset with him. Look, you thought that Dwight Howard was trying to beef with Kobe. He already had a reputation in Orlando as someone who was quote-unquote two-faced, and you thought that he was bringing that to your boy, the Black Mamba.
Fans, being that I'm one of them, are going to obviously side with him, and you can understand that.
I totally understand.
Can I jump in here?
Well, someone can understand that, but it would also behoove you as an adult to be able to distinguish between what's going on between two teammates, and maybe you should not take sides. Maybe you should sit back and say to yourself, well, let's get to the bottom of what's really going on here. That's what an adult does. That's why I say a fanboy and a fangirl. That's obsessive. That's childlike. And it's going into idolatry.
I ain't gonna sugarcoat this because Dwight, every time your name comes up, 9 out of 10 media members next to me will go at you, and I always will defend you because I saw this timeline. This is what happened in Orlando. Well, how it ended with you snitching on Coach, whatever was perceived of that, and then Coach getting fired. You come to LA right now, you're on the ropes in terms of personality to most fans.
Correct.
Then you get on the court and you're not even yourself because you're injured. You're playing through 2 injuries, a back surgery, the torn labrum, and then what happened? The worst thing that happened was when Kobe said and riffed with you and turned that smile into you're not focused, you're not serious, and you're not a leader. And then after that, man, everything just got out of control. And I think it spiraled out of control, unfortunately for you, but you know what? We rebounded and you're back at it.
And he has.
Good for you, Marcellus Wiley. You're telling the truth about Kobe Bean. All-time great player, but also a sociopath in the locker room. No doubt about it. And without Phil Jackson there to temper him and to moderate him, you're never going to win with him as your lead guy. Certain people might not like me saying that. Oh, well. When we look at the Kobe Bean Bryant system, that might get you to the first round of the playoffs. Those are the facts. He needs Phil Jackson. He needs a great big man. He needs a triangle offense. When we compare that to the LeBron James system, he's going to get you to the finals. He's just going to lose to a very intelligent team. That is why I have LeBron James over Kobe Bean. I'm sure that a lot of Kobe Bean's fans are going to get upset by that. Oh, well.
Rebounded.
Yes,
So thank you for joining us and being an adult. I'm glad you and I can be adults here on the show. We move on. We got
Good for you, Dwight. You handled yourself very well, brother. But anyway, that's pretty much it on this topic. Peace.